Good morning, all. Welcome to physics class. So in this class, I am going to explain about Coulomb's inverse square law in magnetism. So Coulomb's square law is applicable for both electric charges and magnets. So in this class, I am going to explain about Coulomb's inverse square law in magnetism only. Okay. So first of all, before explaining Coulomb's inverse square law, I want to let you know about magnet, or what is a magnet and its some of its properties, features or characteristics. Okay, let us start. First of all, what is a magnet? A magnet is an object that exhibits strong magnetic field, or that produce a strong magnetic field, or simply that produce a magnetic field around it. Magnet is an object which produce a magnetic field around it and which will attract materials like iron, cobalt, nickel, etc. So simply, what is a magnet? Magnet is nothing but a material which produce a magnetic field around it, and it should be capable of attract magnetic materials like cobalt, nickel, iron, and also other magnets. So a magnet can attract or repel another magnet, and it can attract other magnetic materials like iron, cobalt, nickel. And a magnet possesses two poles. In electricity, we have two types of charges. Those are positive charge and negative charge. Like that, in magnetism, we have two poles. One is north pole and another one is south pole. And there is a difference between charges in electricity and poles in magnetism. That is, the electric charge can be isolated. Electric charges can be isolated, or an individual positive charge or individual negative charge can be existed. But unlike the electrical charges, the north pole or south pole, the poles of magnetism cannot be isolated. The magnetic poles exist in pair only. A single north pole cannot exist. We cannot find a single north pole or independent individual south pole. Magnetism or magnetic pole means it should possess two poles, a south pole and a north pole, but a single magnetic pole cannot be existed. So a magnet should possess, or a magnet possesses two poles. One pole is called north pole or north seeking pole, and another pole is called south pole or south seeking pole, because when we suspend a magnet in air or in a free space, automatically it aligns into the north-south direction. It aligns into north-south direction. That means one end or one pole of the magnet shows north direction and other end shows the south directions. The end which shows or which is in north direction is called north pole or north seeking pole, and the other end which shows south direction or which directs toward south is called south pole or south seeking pole. And one more thing, like in electricity, what happens for electric charges? A positive charge attracts negative charge, and a positive charge repels another positive charge. Similarly, a negative charge attracts a positive charge, and a negative charge repels another negative charge. Like this, In magnetism also, the north pole attracts a south pole and a north pole repels another north pole of other magnet, and a south pole attracts a north pole and a south pole repels the south pole of another magnet. That means like poles repel each other and unlike poles attract each other, right? So these are the properties of poles on magnets. Okay, so any magnet should possess two poles, one is north pole and one is south pole. They exist at the ends of the magnet. And one more thing, when we make a magnet into pieces, when it is made into pieces, then also the poles are not separated. If we make a bar magnet into 100 pieces, for each piece or on each piece of the bar magnet there will a south pole and north pole. Both the poles exist on every piece of bar magnet. That means we cannot separate two poles by breaking or making a bar magnet into pieces. If we make a bar magnet into 100 pieces, if we break it, then also each piece possesses two poles, that is south and north poles. So by this we can say that in magnetism, north pole and south poles cannot be, or north pole and south poles cannot be isolated. They exist in pairs only. Okay, so let us discuss about magnets now. So first one, we already know that every magnet possesses two poles, one is north pole and one is south pole. Okay, the distance between, or for every magnet there exists some distance between two poles. There is some distance between a north pole and south pole. Thus that distance between two poles of a magnet is called magnetic length. So what is magnetic length? The distance between two poles of a magnet is called magnetic length, and it is represented or indicated by 2L. So remember it, magnetic length is represented by 2L, not simply L. We have to represent it by 2L. So if a magnetic length of a bar magnet is given as 5 centimeters, then it should be taken as 2L equal to 5 centimeters, not L. 2L equal to 5 centimeters. And one more thing, the poles of a magnet, the poles of any magnet do not exist at the ends. They do not exist exactly at the ends. They do not exist. They do not located. They are not located exactly at the ends. They are located at some distance from the ends. That means the poles are not existed at the ends of a bar magnet. They are somewhat inside the bar magnet. That means actual length of the bar magnet, that means when we measure the length of a bar magnet with scale, that is called geometric length. Appearance length which is appearing is called geometric length. Okay, geometric length is which we measure with a scale or some other device. But what is magnetic length? The distance between two magnetic poles is called magnetic length. Sir, no. So where are the magnetic poles located? Somewhere inside the magnet, nearer to edges, but not at the exactly at the edges. So that the magnetic length and geometric length are different, both are not equal. Okay, so the geometric length or the magnetic length 2L is equal to around 5 by 6 times of geometric length. Okay, so if a magnetic geometric length of a magnet is 6 centimeters, then its magnetic length equal to 5 by 6 into 6 centimeters, that is 6 gets cancelled, 5 centimeters. Magnetic length will be 5 centimeters, like that. Okay, so this is magnetic length. What is magnetic length? The distance between two poles of a magnet is called magnetic length. Okay, next, pole strength. So some magnets attract strongly. If we place nearer, or if we bring an iron piece nearer to the magnet, some magnet attracts strongly and some magnets attract weakly. That means all the magnets are, the effect of all the magnets are not equal, or the field around all the magnets are not equal. Why? On which magnetic field depends upon the strength of the magnet. If the magnet has a high strength, it attracts magnetic material strongly. So the power of the effect of the magnet, it depends upon the pole strength. It is the effect of the magnet, the measure of the effect of the magnet is called pole strength. If the poles are strong, then it attracts strongly. If the poles are weak, then it attracts weakly. So we have to define the pole strength. Okay, so what is pole strength? Pole strength is the measure of the amount of force exerted by a magnetic pole on another magnetic pole. So like what we said, pole strength is the measure of the amount of force exerted by a magnetic pole on another magnet. So it is the measure on which extent, up to which extent this magnet exerts force on another magnet. If the pole strength is high, it applies a strong force on another magnet. If the pole strength is low, it applies only weak force, it applies somewhat weak force on another magnet. Okay, and one more thing, every magnet possesses two poles, and every pole possesses pole strength. Every pole attracts another pole, every pole may repel another pole. That means every pole applies or exerts force on another magnet. This applied force by the magnetic pole, can be measured, can be determined by the pole strength. That means each and every pole possesses pole strength, and in all the magnets possess two poles, and these two poles possess pole strengths. But remember one thing, the pole strength of two poles of a magnet is same. That means the north pole, the south pole, these are the two poles possessed by any magnet. The pole strength of north pole of a magnet is exactly equal to the pole strength of south pole of the magnet. But one thing is, the sign of the pole strengths are different. If the pole strength of north pole is taken as plus m, then the pole strength of south pole should be taken as minus m. Pole strength is indicated by small m. So as positive charge indicated by plus q and negative charge indicated by minus q, the north pole is indicated by plus m and south pole is indicated by minus m. So pole strength is analogous to charge of a particle. Pole strength of a pole is analogous to charge of a particle, plus q minus q, like that, plus m minus m. And the SI units of pole strength are ampere meter. Okay, and so each magnet possesses two poles, that means it possesses magnetic length and pole strength. Okay, so the strongness, the effectiveness of a magnet can be determined by these two, magnetic length and pole strength. If the magnetic length is high and pole strength is high, then that magnet is considered as strong magnet. So by combining these two terms, that means magnetic length and pole strength, the effect of the strongness, the effect of strongness of the magnet can be explained or told. So if we multiply these two, magnetic length and pole strength of a magnet, that is called magnetic moment. So we can define magnetic moment of a magnet as the product of pole strength and magnetic length of a magnet is called magnetic moment. The product of pole strength and magnetic length of a magnet is called magnetic moment, capital M. It is indicated by capital M. Therefore, capital M is equal to small m into 2L. Magnetic length is represented by 2L. Important one. So M into 2L or 2LM is capital M. And pole strength, the units for pole strength are ampere meter, and magnetic length, units of magnetic length are meter. So the SI units of magnetic moment are ampere meter square. Okay, right, next one. So we know each magnetic pole exerts for a force, that may be a force of attraction or force of repulsion on another magnetic pole. If they are like poles, the force is repulsion. If they are unlike poles, the force is attraction. So anyway, each magnetic pole exerts some amount of force on another magnetic pole. But how much force is applied by one magnetic pole on another magnetic pole? So this can be determined. The force applied on one magnetic pole by another magnetic pole of another magnet can be determined by a law, that is Coulomb's inverse square law. Coulomb's inverse square law. So we know if the poles are strong, if the poles are strong, two poles are strong, then they attract or they repel each other very strongly. When we say the poles are strong, when they are said to be strong, if the pole strength of the poles is high, then they are said to be strong poles. So let M1 is the pole strength of first pole and M2 is the pole strength of second pole. Then second strength M2 is the pole strength of second pole. If the pole strengths are high, then what happens? They attract each other if they are unlike poles, or they repel each other if they are like poles. That means the force between two magnetic poles is very high when the poles are strong. Or if the poles are weak, that means if the pole strength of those two magnetic poles is low, then they attract or they repel each other, they repel weakly. The force between those two poles is less. Okay, that means the force between two magnetic poles depends upon the pole strengths of two magnets. So what can we say? The force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to their pole strengths. Yes or no? If the pole strength is high, the force is high. If the pole strength is low, the force is low. That means the force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to the pole strengths of two poles. So in a single word, what we can say? The force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to the product of their pole strengths, m1 and m2. If m1 and m2 both are strong, then the force is very strong. If one of them is weak and one of them is strong, the force may be strong up to some extent. If both the poles are weak, then the force between them is also weak. So the force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to the product of their pole strength. So therefore F capital F is directly proportional to m1 m2, where m1 and m2 are the pole strengths of the two magnetic poles. And one more thing we can observe is, if the two poles are nearer to each other, close to each other, then the force will be strong. They attract or repel strongly. And when the two poles are far away from each other, the distance between the two poles is high, then the two poles attract or repel each other weakly. That means the force is low. That means the force between two poles not only depends on the pole strengths of the two poles, but also depends upon the distance between the two poles. But one difference is, the force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to their pole strengths, but in case of distance, the force between two magnetic poles is decreases. The force between two magnetic poles decreases with the increase in the distance. If we increase the distance, the force decreases. So it can be, what can we say? The force between two magnetic poles is inversely proportional to the distance. Exactly, not distance, the square of the distance. The force between the two magnetic poles is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Square of the distance between them. That means the force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to inverse of the square of the distance between them. That's why this law is called inverse square law. Inverse square of the distance varies with the inverse square of the distance. Okay, so what are the relations we got? F magnetic force applied force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to product of the pole strengths m1 m2, and the second relation is, the force between two magnetic poles is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. That means F proportional to 1 by d square. So by combining these two relations, we get F proportional to m1 m2 by d square. And to replace the proportionality symbol with equal to, we have to multiply the RHS with a constant, proportionality constant. Here the constant is k. Therefore F equal to k into m1 m2 by d square or r square, whatever it may be. If the distance is measured indicated by d, then the equation k equal to m1 m2 by d square. And the proportionality k is not just simply a number, it has a significance. The k value, that means the force between two magnetic poles, depends on the k. But k is not a constant, simply constant. It depends upon the nature of the medium. If the poles are placed in water, the force is different, and if the poles are placed in air, the force will be different. That means in these two cases, the pole strength of the poles is equal and the distance between the two poles is also equal. But from where the change is came? Why the forces between two poles is different in two different media. So from this, what can we say? The force between two magnetic poles is also affected by the medium in which they are placed. So the effect of the medium on the force, between two magnetic poles is indicated by the proportionality constant K. So K is simply not just a constant, it is a property of the material due to which it affects the force between the two magnetic poles. So this constant K is equal to mu naught by 4 pi. Mu can be written as mu by 4 pi actually. So mu is called permeability of the medium. So every medium possesses permeability. That permeability varies with the medium. If we place the two magnetic poles in a free space, that means now air can be considered as free space. If we place these two poles in vacuum or air, both are free space, then the permeability of the free space mu naught can be written as mu naught is equal to 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. So the SI units of permeability are Henry per meter. The permeability of free space mu naught is 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. If we place these two magnetic poles in another medium, then the permeability changes. Then we have to use mu in the expression. Therefore, if we place those two magnetic poles in another medium other than vacuum or free space, the expression for the force, the Coulomb-Inner square law, is changed as F is equal to mu by 4 pi into m1 m2 by d square. Mu by 4 pi into m1 m2 by d square. So the proportionality constant in free space is 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. If the medium is changed, the value of constant is also changed. Okay, so this is Coulomb's inverse square law. So from these observations, what can we say? The amount of force, the force between two magnetic poles depends upon the pole strengths of the poles and the distance between the two magnetic poles. And the magnetic force between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to product of their magnetic pole strengths and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. And one more thing, the force is a vector. It should possess direction. In what direction the force acts? See, look at the diagram picture. M1 pole, the magnetic pole of pole strength M1 attracts M2 with a force, and with the same amount of force the pole M2 attracts M1. So both the forces are in opposite direction if they are unlike poles. Okay, if they are like poles, the force will be repulsion, and then also that both the forces are in opposite direction. And look at the diagram picture. Both the forces acts along a line which joins the two poles. M1 attracts or repels another pole M2 along the line joining those two poles, and similarly M2 attracts or repels the second pole M1 with the force along the line joining them. Okay, so the direction of the force is always along the line joining the two poles. So from these 3 points, what can how can we state the Coulomb inverse square law? See, the statement of Coulomb inverse square law can be given as the force of attraction or repulsion between two magnetic poles is directly proportional to the product of their pole strengths and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them, and acts along the line joining the two poles. So this is the consolidated statement of Coulomb's inverse square law. And the force between two magnetic poles F is equal to K into m1 m2 by d square, where m1 m2 are the pole strengths of two poles and d is the distance between the two poles. And the proportionality constant K has a lot of significance because the force between two magnetic poles not only depends upon the pole strengths and the distance between the two poles, but also depends upon the medium in which those two poles are placed. So the effect of the medium on the force between two magnetic poles is determined by K, mu by 4 pi. If the two poles are placed in vacuum, then the proportionality constant K is mu naught by 4 pi and its value is 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. If the poles are placed in another medium, then the value of proportionality constant K is mu by 4 pi, where mu is the permeability of the medium and it changes, it varies with the medium. Mu naught is the permeability of the free space. This is about Coulomb's inverse square law. Now let us solve some examples on this Coulomb's inverse square law. And one more thing to explain, magnetic induction field strength or magnetic field strength of the magnetic field. So we know when there is a magnet, if a magnet is placed at some place, there will be a magnetic field around the magnet. There will be a magnetic field around the magnet. So we can observe one thing here. The magnetic field around the magnet is observed, and when we place an iron piece near the magnet attracts strongly, and when we place the same iron piece somewhere at a distance from the magnet, it attracts weakly. That means the effect of the magnetic field on the same iron piece different at different points. Yes or no? Yes, the effect of the magnetic field is different at different points. Yes, near the magnet, the effect of the magnetic field is strong. At higher distances, the effect of the magnetic field is weak. That means the effect of the magnetic field, how much effect it shows, is measured by magnetic field strength. If the strength of the magnetic field is high, then the effect of magnetic field is high. If the strength of the magnetic field is low, then the effect of the magnetic field is also low, right? So the effect of the magnetic field can be measured by strength of the magnetic field. So the magnetic strength, the field strength, the strength of the magnetic field is a measure of effect of the magnetic field, right? So let us define magnetic induction field strength or strength of the magnetic field, right? So let us consider a magnet and the magnetic field around that magnet, and let us place a unit north pole. Let us place a unit north pole at a point in that magnetic field. Then the magnetic field exerts some force on that magnetic field. This force acted on the unit north pole by magnetic field is called the strength of the magnetic field. So the force acting on a unit north pole placed at a point is called strength of the magnetic field and it is indicated by capital B. If we place a magnetic field somewhere other than some at other point, then the force may be changes. That means the strength of the magnetic field may change. So that means the strength of the magnetic field varies with the position, or point to point it varies. Okay, so what can we define? How can we define magnetic field strength of the magnetic field? Magnetic strength of the magnetic field is the force acting on unit north pole placed at a point in that magnetic field is called strength of the magnetic field at that point. Okay, and by conventionally we take north pole only, unit north pole. To define strength of the magnetic field, we take unit north pole only. If we place unit south pole instead of unit north pole, the same force will be applied on the south pole also, but one difference is the direction of the force is changed. If the directions of the forces on north pole and south pole are different means they are in exactly opposite directions. Always the force on north pole is along the field direction. The force on the north pole is always taken in field direction, and the force on south pole is always taken in the opposite direction to the field, but the amount of force is same. If the portions of north pole and south pole are same, then the force acting on those two poles are same in magnitude but opposite in directions. Okay, so if a magnetic pole is placed at a point at somewhere in the space, there will be a magnetic field. We can determine the magnetic field intensity or strength of the magnetic field due to this magnetic pole from a distance d from this magnetic pole. What is by definition of strength of the magnetic field? What is the definition? The force acting on unit north pole placed at a point is called strength of the magnetic field at that point. So that means there are here we placed a magnetic pole of field pole strength m. Due to this magnetic pole, a field is developed. We placed a unit north pole from a distance d from the magnetic pole. According to Coulomb's inverse square law, the force applied by the magnetic pole of pole strength m on one unit north pole is mu naught by 4 pi into m1 m2 by d square. But here the pole strength of the first magnet is capital M and the pole strength of the second magnetic pole is 1. Therefore the force acting on unit north pole placed at a distance d from the magnetic pole is mu naught by 4 pi into m by d square. So this force acting on unit north pole is also called as magnetic field strength or intensity of magnetic field. Okay, so the magnetic field intensity due to a magnetic pole of pole strength m at a distance d can be determined by the equation B equal to mu naught by 4 pi into m by d square when the magnetic pole is placed in free space. If the medium is changed, then we have to use mu, where mu is permeability of the space. And one more thing, magnetic field intensity or strength of the magnetic field can also be called as the magnetic flux density or the magnetic induction. All are same, all are indicated by B. Same physical quantities, so it can be called as the magnetic flux density or magnetic induction also, magnetic induction field strength also. Now the SI units of the magnetic field intensity are Weber per meter square, because it can be called as flux density, magnetic flux density. So the units of magnetic flux, Weber. What is density? The magnetic flux passing through unit area perpendicularly is called magnetic flux density. So magnetic flux per unit area means flux per meter square. That's all. So what are the units for flux? Weber. So Weber per meter square is the SI units of the magnetic induction field strength or magnetic flux density. These Weber per meter square are also called as Tesla, capital T. Okay, so let us solve one or two examples on this, right? Let me show the first problem. The repulsive force between two magnetic poles in air is 9 into 10 power minus 3 newtons. The repulsive force means they are like charges, and these two poles are placed in air. That means the K value is 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. If the two poles are equal in strength, that means the strength of the two poles are equal. That means M1 equal to M2 or M1 M2 equal to M, and are separated by a distance of 10 centimeters. They are separated by 10 centimeters means 0.1 meter. And calculate the pole strength of each pole. So we have to calculate the pole strength of each pole, means we have to determine the value of M. So from Coulomb's inverse square law, we have F equal to K into M1 M2 by D square, but in free space or air, the value of K is 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter, right? So the given value is force is equal to 10 into 10 power minus 3 Newton, R radius is equal to 10 centimeters, that is 0.1 meter. Therefore the force, by substituting these values in the equation, Coulomb's inverse square law, F 9 into 10 power minus 3 equal to mu naught by 4 pi, that is 10 power minus 7 into Qm. Qm is the pole strength of each pole, because those poles are of same pole strength, means M1 equal to Qm and M2 is also equal to Qm. M1 M2 can be written as Qm square divided by distance square. So by simplifying this, we get the pole strength as 30 ampere meter, 30 newtons per Tesla. Okay, 30 ampere meter. Okay, thank you.